Today, we're going to do something a little different. We're cracking open a digital time capsule, a guide to the KDE desktop environment from all the way back in 2013. We're going to see exactly how it was presented, what its core philosophy was, and what really made it tick over a decade ago. So, let's dive in. So, you gotta ask, who was a guide like this even for? Well, picture it, 2013. You're looking for an alternative. Maybe you just got a new computer with Windows 8 and you weren't a fan. Or maybe you were already on Linux, but you found Ubuntu's new Unity desktop, let's just say, a little controversial. This guide was basically saying, hey, here's a third option, a really powerful, really customizable one. All right, so let's start with the big one. According to this guide from 2013, what exactly was the KDE project? It's a bigger question than you might think. The guide takes us on a quick trip back to 1996 when it was founded by Matthias Ettrich. And the core idea? It was to build a complete, full-featured graphical world for free systems like Linux. A huge goal was making sure all the little bits and pieces of an application, what they called widgets, all the buttons, all the menus, looked and behaved in a consistent way. No more Wild West of user interfaces.
To really get what KDE does, the guide explains its role as the desktop environment. You can think of it as the very top layer of everything you see. It's the thing that pulls together the window manager, all the toolkits, and the actual apps into one single cohesive experience that you, the user, actually interact with.
And this diagram from the guide is a perfect way to visualize that. Down at the very bottom, you've got the kernel, talking directly to the hardware. Then you build up layers on top of that for drawing windows, arranging them, and KDE, the desktop environment, sits right at the very top. It's the final piece of the puzzle that makes it all a usable system for a person. Okay, so you've gone through the install, you're about to log in for the very first time. What was that initial experience like on a KDE desktop back in 2013? Let's take a quick guided tour.
So, the guide described a layout that would feel pretty comfortable, especially if you were coming from Windows. You've got that panel at the bottom, a K menu on the far left for your apps, a task manager, a system tray on the right, but there was a really key difference. By default, you didn't just throw icons on your desktop. Oh no. Instead, you use these interactive things called widgets.
And one of the major features the guide really pushed was this concept called activities. Now, you might hear that and think, oh, so virtual desktops? But it was a much, much bigger idea. See, virtual desktops just give you a clean space for your open windows. An activity could have its own totally unique wallpaper, its own set of widgets, and you could even tie specific apps to it. It was a tool for organizing your entire workflow, not just your open windows. A huge difference.
And that brings us to what the guide presents as KDE's real trump card, its main selling point, the absolutely incredible depth and power of its customization. The guide makes it super clear that changing things wasn't some complicated chore. Want to add a widget? It was literally a couple of right clicks, a menu pops up, and you just drag whatever you want, a clock, a view of a folder, anything, right onto your desktop. Simple as that.
But it went so far beyond just widgets. You could move that main panel to the top, the side, wherever you wanted. You could resize it, add new things to it, or just make it disappear when you're not using it. You could download completely new themes, new color schemes, new icons. You could even get into the weeds and set up incredibly detailed keyboard shortcuts for basically anything. The message was loud and clear. This is your computer. Make it work exactly how you want it to. But look, KDE wasn't just a pretty face that you could endlessly tweak. The guide really stressed that it was also a complete collection of seriously powerful, integrated applications. First up, Dolphin, the file manager. Now, it had all the stuff you'd expect, like a split-pane view to make dragging and dropping files a breeze, but the guide highlighted its real superpower. You could just press the F4 key and boom, a command line terminal would instantly pop up, already in whatever folder you were looking at. For power users, that was a game changer.
But Dolphin's absolute killer feature was this technology called kioslaves. This was mind-blowing stuff. It lets you connect to files on a remote FTP server or a network share, and it would treat them exactly as if they were right there on your hard drive. You could open a text file, edit it, and hit save, and it would save it directly back to the server. No downloading required. In 2013, that felt like magic.
Next in the lineup was Contact. The guide basically presented this as KDE's all-in-one answer to Microsoft Outlook. It was this massive suite designed to manage all your personal information, but it did it by pulling a bunch of different apps together under one roof.
So inside this one window, you had it all. Kmail for your email, Korganizer for your calendar and to-do lists, an address book, even an RSS feed reader. And the real key here was that it could sync up with online services like Google, bringing all of your digital life together in one integrated spot.
You know, even the humble image viewer, GwenView, was more than it seemed. Sure, you could view your photos, but what the guide praised were its incredibly efficient keyboard shortcuts. You could quickly resize, crop, or rotate an image with just a few taps on the keyboard. It made quick edits totally painless.
And the list just kept on going. There was Kate, the text editor, which was noted for its fantastic syntax highlighting. The guide showcased Amarok, a really feature-packed music player, and it highlighted K3B, which was this top-tier utility for burning CDs and DVDs, which, believe it or not, was still a pretty common task back then.
So when you put all of this together, the customizable desktop, the powerful features, this whole suite of applications, what's the big picture? What's the core philosophy that this 2013 guide is really showing us?
The philosophy was just unmistakable. From top to bottom, from the desktop itself to every single application, KDE was about one thing: giving the user the ultimate choice. It was about deep integration between all its different parts, and most of all, it was about empowering you, the user, to configure, to tweak, and to control every single last detail of your computer.
And looking back from where we are now, this whole time capsule leaves us with a really fascinating question. We live in an era that often prizes streamlined simplicity, that it just works philosophy. So this snapshot from 2013 makes you stop and wonder, what is the value of ultimate choice in the world we live in today?